To perform ARP poisoning, the attacker must change certain entries in the ARP cache. Speaking more precisely, he will replace the IP, the default gateway, the DNS server, or the database server of your computer with the ones of his own machine. Thus, bypassing the higher layer protocols, your computer will be sending data not to the router or database server, but to the attacker's computer. Only the attacker knows what he's going to do with the data then. He can send it to its original destination so that the victim won't notice the attack. This technique is called the man-in-the-middle attack. It's the first threat we'll demonstrate in a moment. Before we do that, however, it's advisable that we briefly discuss how the 802.1x standard helps secure the link layer. The standard defines methods of medium access control. Usually, it's associated with wireless networks, but it does apply to wired networks as well. In both cases, its aim is to block access to the medium. For example, a port with a switch will remain closed. The red light above the switch will glow until the host's computer identity is verified. This standard is implemented through Radius Server. The server verifies the identity of the device, for example, a computer, rather than the identity of the user. When the verification is over, the green light above the port will go on. Your computer is called the supplicant. It will try to connect to the authenticator, in this case, to a managed switch. Before the green light lights up, the authenticator will ask you to send some certificates. More specifically, the EAP protocol, which we'll discuss later on. Next, the authenticator will forward these certificates to the Radius server. The server will verify whether the computer sent the required certificate, and if so, it will unblock the switch port. Only then the computer will get access to the network. It seems to be a very secure method, especially if you use certificates to verify the identity of the computer. Certificates are difficult to fake. It's not even done because it's simply ineffective. There is, however, another serious problem. Many companies invested huge amounts of money on implementing the Radius server and the 802.1x standard in their local wired networks. The standard is also very effective in wireless networks. The problem is that in the data link layer of the OSI model, a host is identified by its MAC address. And we already know that the MAC address can easily be changed. To connect to a company network secured in the way we've just described, the attacker must first wait for one of the computers to authenticate, which will be signaled by a green light above the port that's just open. Then the attacker must disconnect the user from the port and connect his own hub instead. The hub will broadcast all packets passing through it to all switch ports. It thus becomes a kind of signal multiplexer. Next, the attacker must connect the user's computer to the hub so it will still be part of the network. The user, unaware of all of this, is able to use the network normally. If the attacker connects his computer to the hub, he'll be able to intercept the client's communication with the whole network. The attacker can do much more than simply intercept network traffic. He can also obtain the client's computer MAC address. In the second layer of the OSI model, MAC addresses are not encrypted. Now, the attacker can change his computer's MAC address to the one he obtained. If the attacker's computer MAC address is the same as the victim's, but the machines have different IP addresses, the attacker will gain access to the UDP protocol and the TCP protocol as well. The victim's firewall is almost always active. Without elaborating on a subject that's yet to be introduced, Let's just mention that the TCP protocol is a delivery protocol. This means it allows for a bidirectional connection. If the attacker and the victim are identified by the same MAC address, the packets sent by, for instance, a database server, will be delivered to both machines. The attacker will try to connect to the server sending a SYN packet. The server will respond by sending the SYNAC packet to both computers. The victim didn't expect to receive the packet, so in accordance with RFC standard, it will send back a reset packet and close the current session. However, this scenario won't happen because the SYNAC packet will be blocked by the firewall. The firewall will reject the packet and no reset packet will be sent back. Now the attacker is connected to the open port after the port-based user authentication took place. This allows him to intercept all traffic directed to the client and connect to the servers behind the switch. The attacker achieved that by spoofing the victim's MAC address. This in turn means that it only takes a hub worth about $15 to defeat a complex security infrastructure of the Radius server, certification server, and such. As we know from one of the previous lectures, it's a perfect example of an ineffective security policy.